Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. 12 Faces of Sober Speaks podcast. This is episode 69. Happy Saturday. Hopefully, you guys are in a much warmer climate than I am here in Minnesota because it is cold. And, this is the second time that they've had a little bit of snow. I saw some snow last night and there was some snow flurries this morning. But today's guest is Dr. Tammy Odamayo. He is he's a therapist, and not only a therapist, he is also an author. Hey, what's going on, Mama Walker up in St. Cloud? And so I had him on my show around this time last year, and I actually I actually hit the wrong button and somehow I lost it. So we've been kind of playing phone tag literally a whole year trying to make this happen, and our schedules just constantly was conflicting. So the interview was supposed to be earlier today, and then he had something to do. So like I said, I was able to push it back push it back a couple hours, but we're able to do it today. So without further ado, I'm gonna bring him in. Welcome him to the podcast, and get into this wonderful interview. See, did it work? There we go. What's going on, bro? What's going on?
What up? What up? Finally, we made it. We made it.
Yes. and look, and like I was just saying, I will be able to do it right without deleting it this time. So at least I know that once I hit end, it won't delete it. So I've done enough, at least over the last year, to kind of get a little bit more familiarized with it and everything. But how you doing today, bro?
I'm good. I'm good. Just enjoying the new weather coming up, the snow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to it. It's already cold. It snowed a little bit here last night here in the Twin Cities, and I'm not looking forward to it. I'm not in Florida no more. Cause see, remember last year was I in Florida or was I in? I think was I. Yeah. See, I didn't lived a whole lot of places since last year.
Wow.
Yeah. I was in. I might have been either in Jacksonville or I might have had just came back to Minnesota because I was here like the middle of November all the way up until mid-December, and then I went back to Florida, and then I went in between Florida and Georgia.
Yeah, last year I knew you were traveling a lot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the reason why, ladies and gentlemen, I have him on here for one is to congratulate him. He added the name doctor to his name prior to last year's interview. So I want to salute you on that. You can, we'll jump into it, but you can tell him, when you got your degree, exactly, what type of doctor you are, and then we'll dive right into the interview. So like I said, welcome to the show, bro.
Yo, thank you. Good to be here. So I'll introduce myself real quick. I'm Dr. Odamayo. I am a clinical psychologist, licensed clinical professional counselor, and a certified alcohol and drug counselor. I've been doing this for 8 years now, counseling, and I love it. Work in various settings, in rehabs, in private practice, in community mental health. And right now, my joy right now is just to take it a step further through Instagram and, with books and everything, to get the word out that, look, there is help for every single thing. A lot of people are just suffering alone and don't even know what anxiety feels like, or don't even know they're going through depression. But yeah, my job right now is to spread awareness.
That's what's up. And now you touched on it, and like I said, that was a reason why I wanted to have you on here because you mentioned specializing in alcohol, and a lot of a pretty big chunk, if not more than half of my followers, struggle with some type of drug or alcohol related addictions. And so I wanted to showcase a black man, a black therapist. Why? Because I know right now I have a therapist that's not black, and I'm and it's tough for veterans, especially in states that's not a little bit more diverse, or cities that's not a lot more diverse. But I'm working on that right now, because I do miss that about Florida, is that my therapist I had in Jacksonville, she was black. And sometimes for us, we want to have a therapist that can relate to us, that has, somewhat similar backgrounds, or have, had their own other clients that may look like me, and can give you those answers. Because sometimes I find it that therapists will just sit there and won't say anything, and will just let me talk the whole entire hour, and
Yeah.
won't say, okay, well, you need to address this, you need to work on that. And I'm like, okay, but you're getting paid for me just to talk to you, but you're not even really utilizing your
Wow.
expertise.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm current. This is current. This is right now. My therapist I have here, and it's funny because when I first moved back to Minnesota in July, I had asked the scheduler. I was like, "Hey, please give me please." I said, "Please give me a black therapist." Well, we don't have one, and the lady was like, "It makes me upset." She didn't want to cuss, but she was like, "We need it because we have black veterans here." And they should be able to have the just as much as they have white therapists, they should have black therapists. And I
Yeah.
understand some people don't always want to live in the cold weather states or cities, but we want to have our own type of therapist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what, like, as far as like addiction, it's one of those, obviously it's a common problem that's going on today.
It is.
And a lot of times, especially in the black community, um it's the my parents generation, or our parents generation, they didn't really school us on this. They didn't school us on, okay, let's have these conversations. Let's, instead of just kind of sweeping it under the rug and just say, okay, yeah, that's cousin so and so that's drunk, or that's the uncle that's drunk, or the cousin. Let's
It,
ignore it. But
yeah. It was always
how
hush
can we?
hush.
Huh?
It was always hush hush. Everybody had to say,
Hmm.
"Oh, whisper like, oh, that's that person. That's that this person." Anything mental health or anything addiction related was, in the black community is always like, okay, let's not talk about it. Let's act like it's not happening, but it's
Hmm.
happening and it's real.
Yeah, and that's what I really value, is that the social media now. Yeah, they still got the drama and all that messy stuff, but there are people that are truly trying to seek the help, get the help, and are actually open to speaking
Yeah.
about past traumas.
Yes.
And that to me is that's why, like I said, I wanted to have you on here to give them that perspective. Like, okay, I can trust the therapist, because hey, it's not just someone that doesn't look like me. You know what I'm saying? Hold on a second. Let's
Yeah.
go ahead.
I've been to therapy on and off for years in the UK, and I had never seen a black therapist. Definitely in lacking representation in the UK. Yeah, it's here too in the US. It is tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And and so, like, in terms of like addiction, you know I guess what makes, what, from your perspective, why do you think it is so difficult? Like, that, I mean, in the past, it was, I don't know if it was like a generational thing, to where it was like, okay, we're not going to talk about these type of issues, or where now it's like, okay, everybody's on social media. It doesn't matter the age. It's just a more or less of you hitting record and putting it out there.
Yeah. So like what happened? So like in if you look at the 1970s and you look at the 1970s, 1980s, and you look at the war on drugs, what the war on drugs did was to stigmatize addiction to the core. So now there's not only a mental health issue when it comes to addiction, there's also a political issue when it comes to addiction, right? That
Mm-hmm.
nobody wants to talk about right now. Like if you really look at it and you see how incarceration rates, happen, sweeping through the 70s up until today, you can understand why people don't want to talk about this, why people don't want to talk about, hey, you know what, I'm addicted to, meth, crack, heroin, all of those things. Like everyone has created that. So, and when people don't talk about certain things, it creates a space for more dysfunction. it creates that space for more dysfunction. And so, like, if you look at in the Black community, for instance, there's a whole lot of lack of knowledge of what can be done treatment wise. For
Hmm.
instance, in some states, if you get caught with drugs, and you're standing in front of a judge, you have the right to tell the judge that I am an addict and I need treatment. The moment you say those words, the judge has an obligation to send you to treatment instead of prison. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that. It's just one of those things. So what you find now is you see like a large number of people being incarcerated for addiction that actually can be treated. There's hope for it. You see a lot of people
Hmm.
being incarcerated instead of being given treatment. And yes, some prisons have treatment available, but you really can't treat something in a space where there's really no room for growth, where you're forced to be re-traumatized again, or you're not even in a real world situation.
Yeah. I feel that because one of my former jobs, I used to work in a prison. I used to be a corrections officer up here in Minnesota when I first graduated college in '04. And
Yeah,
so it kind of made me think about that. Like when you said like, okay, if you do admit that you have the addiction and, but then they're throwing you into prison and yeah, there are some people that may have, suffer from addiction issue, but then there are just some that are just hardened criminals that have nothing to do with an addiction. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So when you're putting people together like that, then you're not really, you're not really solving the problem. You're just, okay, we're going to just throw you away and not even really
band-aid.
worry or try to address the issues that may be at hand.
Yes, yes. And then what you find though is like because of this, there's a very, very disproportionate access to treatment. Like if you look at a lot of rehabs and a lot of outpatient facilities in the United States, you can see the lack of proportion in who gets the treatment. You
Hmm.
understand? You can see it. And again, like it's one of those things where like awareness needs to happen.
Now, now I understand that because I myself have been to I've been to 3 rehab facilities, so I totally get it. I get what you're saying. I've been to 2 up here in Minnesota, Minneapolis, and in St.
Okay.
Cloud.
Okay.
I went to one in Alexandria, Virginia, and I went to I was in a homeless shelter in Phoenix, Arizona.
Arizona.
And I know for sure in the military side of it, I was like one of maybe 2 of the group that was like about maybe 20 to 25 that was in the rehab with us. And that was all the black people that was in it. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, okay, but the majority of the soldiers are black and brown. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? But like you said, you see who's being sent there over those who are potentially getting kicked out.
Kicked out. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And that's the part where, like you said, it's sad. And, despite the fact that everybody across the board should be able to, if they have the option of, admitting, okay, look, I have this addiction, I want to get help, they should be able to have that option.
Yes.
And then, so, now let's talk about, trauma. There's a lot of people, especially myself, I dealt with trauma growing up as a kid, witnessing what my father did as far as his alcoholism. And
I like that.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that one. Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. And so I myself didn't understand the trauma that I faced. I dealt with a woman who had I had someone in high school who said she had an abortion like 3 different times. I had someone who actually got pregnant in '08 that had an abortion. It drove me crazy, but I didn't know how to deal with it. And so only thing I knew what to do was to continue to drink. And even when I joined the military, I still had that trauma from my childhood, these bad relationships from these women. And then now I'm in the military and I gotta play this soldier, but then I never had time to address it. So what happened was I just kept drinking. And then now it became a problem in the military. And then even though I was going to treatment, I didn't take it serious because I was just trying to get out of work. And I didn't necessarily
Yeah.
take really address my trauma until I actually got sober. So why, why do you think that, some people, it takes longer for some than others to address those issues when it comes to trauma?
Yeah, because a lot of people don't even realize that the trauma is what's causing the addiction. People don't realize that addiction is only a symptom of the bigger problem. It's not the
Mm,
problem in itself. So a lot of times, like I remember when I was working at the rehab and I was running the partial hospitalization program. A lot of times, what I would see is people who would come in, yeah, they'd be sober for 6 months, they'd be sober for a year, but if you're not dealing with the core seed of the problem, there's a tendency that you might come back because, again, those feelings have to go somewhere. So there was this research that I did in back in grad school that said 70% of the people incarcerated right now have been through some type of trauma.
mm,
And 90% have some kind of mental health diagnosis or substance use problem. So if that's the case, what we are seeing right now is a ripple effect of social learning, right?
mm,
So people, like, if you look at, and this is something that pisses me off, because if you look at TVs, if you look at TV movies, if you look at TV shows, if you look at a whole lot of things, you see people trying to cope with problems by using,
mm,
right? So naturally, there's a message that's being sent to the human brain from a very, very, very young age that if you're stressed, you had a long day at work, what are you going to do when you come home? Right? If you are going through this pain and you don't want to deal with it, you go out and So there's a whole lot of messages that are being sent that we're not even really focused on, right? And so the human brain just goes to this autopilot of, I don't want to deal with my trauma. Let me find something else,
mm.
right? Another thing trauma does is trauma does not allow us to connect, and I don't know if you heard this statement before, like the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it is connection. You heard that before?
Mm-mm. Not until
Oh,
not until you said it.
oh yeah. So it's very interesting though. Like when I was doing more research, I realized that the people who are most successful in recovery are people who have a substantial and solid connection to their support system,
Mm,
right? And that's
yeah.
it, right? So the human brain is designed to connect to something. We can connect to, if we don't connect to people, healthy people, the people that we want to be around, we will connect with something. We can connect with video games and be addicted to it. We can connect with gambling and be addicted to it. Women, whatever the case may be, we will connect with something, whether it's good or not. And so when you're looking at trauma affects our ability to trust people, right?
Mm,
It affects our ability to even make correct judgment when it comes to putting certain people around us. And so what happens is, because that has been affected, like you find yourself in a continuous state of dysfunction, being in jobs that you don't like, being in
mm.
relationships that you don't like, being in situationships that you don't like, period. And guess what? You go back to the addiction.
Yeah, the same
Same
stuff.
cycle.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And see, I'm 3 years clean and sober, and only now started therapy with a counselor. I'm literally just feeling now that I'm actually starting to properly heal and get somewhere. I
Awesome,
I
awesome.
and I second that too, because like I said, for that little period of time when I was in Jacksonville and I had that my last therapist, I felt the connection. It was just like, oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
it was like talking to my mom, but
Mm-hmm.
she's a professional. She's giving me, real life advice in real time. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And that's what it is. Sometimes it's more or less of, there's nothing wrong with saying you don't want that therapist, because like
Yeah.
I said, this is what you need. You know what I'm saying? And you don't want to just be like just talking to somebody and they're not helping you, and you leave out of there, you're more upset, pissed off than you was when you walked in. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? And so, like I said, I have a couple of different topics. Um, you had a post in regards to domestic violence. I myself am a victim of domestic violence. My ex-wife got arrested in 2014, and I'm very happy to say that, because she is no longer in my life,
Like,
for
yeah.
one. For two, she got arrested in the process. But, and I'm only speaking for the men when I
Yeah.
say this, is that, I don't have a problem with saying that, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of men that
There are a
don't.
lot of men that do. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. And so why do you think that is?
it's back to, like society, like a lot of things again we learn. So like, man, there's that toughen up. I can't. A lot of men cannot put themselves in a situation where they say, you know what, I'm being abused,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because then it doesn't sound right. So men tend to take pain. So there was an experiment that was done by ABC News, back in 2009 or 10, I can't remember, but they showed a man being beaten in public by a woman,
Mm-hmm.
and they showed a woman being beaten in public by a man, and they saw the difference in the reaction. Nobody went to help the man.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. People even looked the other way. And when they asked the people who looked the other way, they said, well, he should be able to protect himself, or
Mm-hmm.
he must have done something to deserve it. But when they
Mm-hmm.
interviewed the people who helped the woman, they're like, oh wow, it's a woman. The man should not be doing that and all of that stuff. So like, there's a whole lot of disproportion when it comes to reports. And so
Mm-hmm.
people think that women get abused more versus men, but in all honesty, it's balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it comes to a whole lot of society issues, cheating, is balanced. There's no Men don't do it more. Everything is, yeah. But we as men need to get out of that space of being, macho and tough enough and just take it and just suck it up. No, like, discussions need to happen for
Mm-hmm.
awareness to happen.
Yeah, because like I said, listen, in what year was that? I think it might have been 2016, right before I had got sober and left Arizona. Me and my ex-wife had got into an argument. And so I'm walking, down the hallway. The house that we were renting was, had like a long hallway or whatever. So I'm walking down the hallway, and all of a sudden I just get a punch to the back of the head. And I was like, okay. Now in my mind, and I'm intoxicated, I'm like, I could turn around and react physically, or I could just pick up the phone and be like, all right, let them handle it. When the police came, they're like, she told him, oh, yeah, he's intoxicated. So the moment they said that, or she told him that, then it was more or less they went on the defense of her and was like, okay, why don't you guys just go sleep in separate rooms? I said, so you telling me that if I would have assaulted her, you gonna tell me we go sleep in separate rooms, or I'm gonna be sleeping in the downtown jail? Which one is it? And then of course, at that time I was much heavier than what I am today. And I'm taller than her. I think I had her beat by like 4 or 5 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And probably, weighed probably about 50, 60 pounds more heavier than her. And of course to them, that's gonna look intimidating. But
Yeah,
because this is a smaller woman, they didn't believe her. And
yeah,
see, that's the problem. Yeah, it was some BS, but that is documented when I tell you. But
mm-hmm.
yeah, and that's the thing. So sometimes it's hard for men to be taken serious when situations like that do arise, because of, just like I said, the story that I'm just sharing is that, okay, wait a minute, where is the defense of the man when it comes to if a woman is the aggressor, unless it's
Yeah,
recorded. Unless it's
yeah,
recorded, and even then,
yeah,
I just saw one. I think it was on DL Hughley's page. I think it was yesterday. A male and female had got into it, and the lady was in his face, and like she popped him dead in the mouth, and the whole entire crowd just looked. And like
yes.
you said, if that
Mm-hmm.
was the guy that hit her in the mouth.
Mm-hmm. It'd be a different story. Yeah, it'd be a completely
Mhm,
different story. There's a whole lot of bias that goes on. There's a whole lot. Yeah.
mhm. And so, now, speaking of, we're on the topic of domestic violence, relationship anxiety. You know, but as far as relationships, they're not easy. You know what I'm saying? And if you've been in a relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, lover, whatever it is, you know, of course, it's two different people trying to come together to be one, or to reach some type of common goal. And, especially with life today, inflation, politics, X, Y, and Z,
Everything. Yeah.
everything. So it comes with anxiety. And so I guess is what advice would you give those that are in relationships that are experiencing anxiety, or like are on the verge of like ending a relationship because they follow a lot of BS on Instagram or
Instagram.
social media. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because that's what I think today is a lot of people's relationships are getting hurt because of social media, and they're not listening to professionals, and they're just listening to people that are just hitting record.
Being recorded and making a whole bunch of posts. I see a lot of posts that I'm like, no, this does not even make any any sense whatsoever. But a lot of people will like that because it's something that they want to use to feed the toxic relationship. But
Mm,
let's go. So relationship anxiety is something I focus on a lot with some with my clients, and what I do is I try to process everything from the beginning. Like, what was your very first relationship? Even as far as if you think elementary school or middle school, like what was like what did you pick? And one thing I always realize is that there's always a pattern about the kind of
mm,
people we pick. And the kind of people we pick is also based on the pattern of the kind of trauma that we experienced in life in childhood. So if you experience physical, sexual, or emotional abuse in childhood, you're more likely to be in a toxic relationship in the future, right? Now, that being said, our brain works with associations, and so um, let's say in your past, one of your past relationships, somebody hit you, or one of your past relationships, somebody cheated on you or hurt you in some type of way. When you don't heal from that trauma, you're gonna bleed into the next relationship. It's
mm,
gonna hurt. It's gonna guarantee to hurt the next relationship. And so, one of the things that would need to be done is to to be aware of associations. So,
mm.
associations is, for instance, okay, this is my phone. Last time, if you're in a relationship and your ex was texting somebody else, right? Now you're in a new relationship and it's a lot healthier, but now the person is texting. The association is, oh wow, this person may be cheating on me, and then the anxiety increases, and you're likely to sabotage that relationship because of something that you did not heal from in the past.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, I like this quote. Domestic abuse can be incredibly difficult to understand. Talking about it can help get it squared up in your mind. I'd urge anyone to share the experience and not keep it to themselves. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I totally get that because, not to like just harp on my past marriage, but yeah, it was like that. And not, I don't think she truly understood the fact that like, I had friends before I got married to her.
yeah,
And those friends are still my friends today. And I've been divorced now 5 years. So
yeah,
go figure. You know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? Those people still stuck around and she
Yeah,
did. You know what I'm saying? So, and yeah, I think that, you hit it right. A lot of times, people, and I'm guilty of it. I've done it before. It is that cycle of like, okay, yeah, you may go for the physical, but then it's also something else. It might that individual might be a little more feisty, or you know what I mean, or
mm-hmm.
you don't want that. The homebody. You want somebody out there in the streets, or you know what I mean, or
Mm-hmm.
you want somebody that everybody else wants. You
Once,
know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? Because they're getting that attention. So you want to be like, okay, well, if she getting attention from all of them, then let me, get on in there and try to see if I could take her away from that. And that's
Yeah,
not going to happen because she going to still
yeah,
get that attention. You know
yep,
what I'm saying?
yep.
I mean, it's the truth. Now, what's I see on your page it says the number one reason most people attract the wrong partner. And what would that you just mentioned that, right?
The number on my page.
Yeah, on your page. That was
Uh,
one of your posts. One of your posts that said number one reason, or one reason most people attract the wrong partner.
because they're wearing a mask.
Mm,
So anytime you wear a mask, you're pretending to be something that you're not, or you're gonna attract the person. You're gonna attract somebody who's attracted to the mask and not you. So
mm,
a lot of people pretend. So you get into a relationship, you don't tell your partner, the person that you want to be with, like a majority of the things about yourself that will make them decide whether to stay or not. So you start to pretend like everything is okay. And I see this a lot. I saw this a lot when I was working at the rehab. Was a person gets into a relationship, does not disclose the addiction, right? And
mm,
tries to kind of like, oh, everything is okay, and then stress starts to happen, and boom, the addiction comes back. And so what I see is if you tell someone this is what I am going through, this is what I have been going through, and these are the things that I do, the person can either stay or leave.
mm,
But people are always afraid of being left So they will do what it takes. They'll wear that mask to stay in something that's not working. And guess
Mm-hmm.
what? Masks get uncomfortable after a while. After a while, you start to sweat. You start to, you can't, if you're wearing a mask, you can't, breathe very well. And that's what happens when people start having relationship anxiety.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see. It says it's so confusing. 1 minute they're nice as pie, then they're drunk and threatening you or throwing stuff at you. Then nice as pie again in the morning. I've been there, brother. It wears you down. Yeah.
it does. It
It, that
does.
that is big facts right there.
It
Now,
does.
let me see. Now what? Why? So you got the statistics on black men in therapy
No, I don't.
and the numbers
I
on
don't.
that? I'm about to say. So why? Okay,
I'm pretty
you
sure
know
it's low.
that. I'm
I,
sure of that.
mhm.
Now why do you think black men should get into therapy?
Oh, I mean, if any population in the world right now should get into therapy, it should be black men. That's what I
Hmm.
believe. Like I mean, because black men have had, in my opinion, I'm not trying to tell anybody right now that nobody has had experienced trauma, but based on just the general statistics, based on just everything, black men have more to be anxious about, have more to be depressed about, and have more PTSD than most of the general population because of just what has happened in history. And so when we look at what has happened in history and even what is happening right now, I'm really, really, really surprised that a majority of my are not black men, right?
Mm,
Because it's just like you constantly, as a black man in America or even around the world, you're constantly working on eggshells, right? There's like it's like this invisible target behind your back and this invisible expectation behind your back. So you have to speak the right way, do the right thing, get pulled over. You got to put your hands on the steering wheel. All of these things, and I'm like, there's no way you're experiencing all of that and you're not experiencing stress from all of that. And so that's one of the reasons I believe black men should come to counseling.
okay. Now, why do you think it's important that you know you take care of your mental health? Well, like the importance of it, because we've at some point we have all faced some type of trauma or witnessed trauma right in front of our faces.
Mhm.
Why do you think it's important that you do actually take care of that?
Yeah, so like I mentioned in my book, How to Be a Mental Health Savage, I realized that your mental health affects every area of your life. It affects your spiritual health, your financial health, your physical health, your social health, your emotional health. Like a lot of people don't realize how intertwined everything is. So, for instance, if you're experiencing social anxiety will determine the kind of people or the kind of experiences you have in life, right? Some people, as a result of the social anxiety that they have, don't go after the jobs that they really want to get, like be a lawyer or be a comedian or a stand-up or a musician. Like your mental health affects so much that it is very imperative to make sure that your headspace is pure, clean, and it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be 100% perfect, but working towards that perfection is necessary to achieve a balanced lifestyle.
Okay. All right, let's see. Trying to see. Now, what would be some recommendations in terms of, you know, um, like natural things, like to, for those who do suffer from mental health, you know, um, like for me, obviously when the weather is good, I like to get outside. I like to, there's a park right across the street from my apartment complex. They got like little areas where, they got like a little flower type garden, stuff like that. You could just sit there, you can meditate. They got little, birds and all that, around. So what would be like some of your recommendations in terms of, being active for someone who might be isolated, that's, that they don't want to really do anything?
Yeah, we got to go back to the way it was before
Mhm.
technology came in, before all of these screen time. Like we got to go back to the what the brain was designed for, and the brain was never designed to see four walls 24/7, and
Mhm.
that's what human beings have subjected themselves into. Like your brain was designed to see trees, your brain was designed to go on walks, your brain was designed to be active and experience things and situations. Like a lot of people get stuck in, the work, or the work lifestyle of, go go to work for 8 to 9 hours, come back home, be indoors again, not do anything. And so, like, one of the most natural ways is go out, go on a walk. While you're walking, put on meditation music and meditate while you're walking. Sit down, go eat natural foods. Drink some tea. The herbs and teas that help with everything. The teas that help with anxiety, the teas that help with insomnia, the teas that help with to boost your mood. Like, there's so many different things out there that nature has already given to us to achieve a balanced life, but we as human beings just need to go out there and find it. No, now everybody is unique. So, like, for me, I know I love to ride my bike, on the trail. For somebody else, they might love to go on walks. For someone else, they might just, like, camp or anything. But everyone is different. Find something that works for you, because if it doesn't work for you, it will feel like a chore.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I know that I know you got another engagement soon, so I'm gonna ask you one more question.
Yeah.
For those that are out there struggling with drugs and alcohol and are afraid to open up to, say, a friend or a family member in regards to, their struggles, what would you tell them, like, moving forward in terms of having the, how to kind of get out of that? Not necessarily because, yeah, I struggled with my alcoholism for over 12 years, and it took a lot of, failed counselors, failed relationships, situations with my family to honestly get it. And I, looking back on it now, I am glad that I went through it, because now I could speak openly, compared to before. I was afraid to say, hey, I struggled with this. Hey, I didn't like that, but I dealt with it. Now I could be like, I don't like this shit. And you know what I'm saying? And I'm not afraid or ashamed to do it. So I guess I guess it's like, what advice would you give someone who is still out there struggling, who does need the help, but just honestly don't know really how to get, to be vocal about it?
Yeah. So one thing I would say, like kind of like I said in the during the today's podcast, is the opposite of addiction is connection. And you cannot connect with anybody until you take off your mask and be true to yourself and be honest with the people around you. Because depression keeps you depressed by doing the things depression wants you to do. And addiction does the same thing too. Addiction keeps you addicted by doing the things addiction wants you to do. And the things depression and anxiety, depression and addiction want you to do is, the number one thing is to isolate yourself. The moment you isolate yourself, depression, anxiety, and even addiction as one. The moment you do that. But if you step out of that shell and you say, hey, you know what? I need help, right? And you go out there and say, I'm going to find somebody that I need to connect with to get that help. You start to find that you're going to move out of that space in general. Okay, those are the two biggest advices I give. Do the opposite to what you feel like doing, and you will find results.
Okay, I like that. All right, well, look, man, I definitely, we're gonna have to do a part 2, because I want to have a discussion on your book or books, because I'm for sure that at least one of those books will help someone, you know what I'm saying? Or if not all of them, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, I'm just really thankful for you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know it's been a lot of cancellations on both ends. But I am truly glad, because like I said, for two black men to come on here and having this conversation. Wait a minute. Applause to both young men for speaking out, spreading the importance. Yes, true indeed. Thank you. This is why I'm having this podcast, is more or less of pulling different resources of people that look like us and not afraid to have this conversation instead of just the norm, and like I said, be on the lookout for more of this, because this is the purpose of my podcast. So, but yeah, we're definitely going to have to set something up. Hopefully, probably the early part of the new year, and try to dive into a few things. And like I said, man, if not, we might have to do like a monthly check-in, because like I said, I know that over time, you know, with gaining more followers, there's going to be more questions. I'm just still trying to find the perfect time to do these podcasts to get more people to come
Yeah.
in. But hello, Keola's mom. How you doing? Okay, I did not know who you was. I've seen you on a few of my other podcasts. But hello, but yeah, just like I said, this is what it's all about. Is, you know, to be able to have two educated black men on this
Mm-hmm.
platform talking about some hotbed issues. And
Yes.
mental health is a hotbed issue. Alcohol addiction, drug addiction is hotbed issues that are going on currently today and are affecting a lot of people's homes. So once again, thank you for
Thank
Tammy
you for
for
having me.
coming on today. And thank you to those who have tuned in. Be on the lookout for the next live podcast, which will be on Monday evening. Like I said, I'm trying to keep them rolling and try to get the message out as much as I can. But like I said, man, Tammy, thanks a lot for coming on the show, man. I really do appreciate you, man, and have a good rest
Yeah.
of your Saturday.
Well, you too. You too. Thanks for having me.
All right, bro.